All right, all right, all right. And we are officially live. What's up? This is the Agent Revolution podcast presented by Mike Wall Live, the place where we deconstruct the biggest challenges facing today's real estate agents so that they can build a sustainable, profitable, and most of all, fulfilling real estate business. Today, I'm joined by the $100 million man himself, mega agent Jake Rockwell. Today, my man is going to peel back the curtain and show you how to build an amazing real estate team that dominates. Don't forget to visit Mike Wall Live for more helpful videos and free training. With that being said, you ready to rock and roll, Mr. Rockwell?
I am excited.
All right, well, let's dive right in. So Jake and I met a few weeks back at an event for EXP, the shareholders meeting, and we went totally virtual this year thanks to the coronavirus, but still had the opportunity to come across some really interesting people, and being one of those. We sat on a mastermind panel for the company, and Jake shared some really cool ideas, and I knew then at that point I had to get him on the show to help share with you guys, my avid listeners. So Jake, before we dive into that, brother, why don't we do this? And every time I start the show, I'd like to do a quick bio just to figure out who the man is, who Jake is, how he started out, how he got into the business, what you did before this, and then we can kind of go into all the team building stuff that we're going to talk about. So I'll turn the mic over to you, my friend.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me. And, I've always been kind of an entrepreneur, just growing up, trying to earn some money as a kid and so forth, and got into business right out of college, bought a brewery with a buddy, a failing brewery, built that up, sold it, got into the internet business, started up some internet e-commerce websites, built those up, sold them, and then got into buy here, pay here auto business, and had that for about 8 years, built that up. And then during the crash, kind of financially crashed myself along the way. And right in the middle of that, got my real estate license in 2013. And found that to be working. I dove deep, full in. I figured that if I'm going to do it, I'm going to give it my all to make sure, because I know there's a high failure rate in this business. And so jumped into that. After about 6 months, decided to just give the car lot away, and gave that away, and put all my energy into real estate, and just went full steam ahead. I have a pretty good background in marketing, so I was able to kind of jump in to the business, spending a little bit of money in marketing, but really trying to produce a brand and an image for myself to compete with 1,200 other realtors in a market of 150,000 people. And so, and really kind of started there and took off and so forth.
That's awesome, man. There's really a lot to unpack there. The reason why I love for everyone to share their backstory is because I want to see what's kind of molded and shaped people. You talked about going through the market crash, and most of us who are at a certain age did go through that. And we came out the other side of it a different person, right? Forever changed, right? Just like probably after this coronavirus, we'll be forever changed, right? We'll operate differently. We'll do some things differently, and some of them will be improvements on what were antiquated practices that we were using in the past, and some will be just for safety or precautionary reasons. But I love that story because you are the quintessential serial entrepreneur, right? I mean, I don't think I heard one story in there about you sitting in a cubicle making 30 grand a year, banging your head against the wall, wondering when you were, ever going to be able to get out. It was just from the get-go. You knew that you wanted to be in control of your own destiny. Am I on the right track there?
Yep, absolutely. I mean, right out of college, I went to Enterprise Rent-A-Car and went really fast into their management training program. And then I was always combing, at that time, it was classified ads in the newspaper, and looking at business opportunities. And there was this brewery for sale that, that's a whole nother story, that it should have failed no matter what. It literally was producing $5,000 a month in gross sales. That's per month. And we pay 50 grand for it, me and a partner. And, I borrow money from grandparents and And we put all of our, once we got our license and we do a little bit of marketing, we had about 8,000 left in the bank, 1 beer on tap, no kitchen. We had a bowl of pretzels on the counter. And within, 5 years, we were, voted, best night spot in Southern Oregon, 4 or 5 years straight. And so it was a fun journey when I was younger. And, I'm always looking for different opportunities to excel and grow. And real estate, though, is really, the base of my finale, in my opinion. I mean, there will be other opportunities that come along that I'll look at, but I absolutely love this industry, and I love, working with people, helping not only clients, but helping agents, grow and build their businesses.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it seems like, always I always say, I tell my agents, it's always about the journey. It's never about the destination. You know what I mean? It's who you become along the way. And certainly you've become who you are as a result of, everything you've been through up to this point. And you say that, maybe real estate is your final stop, and who knows, it may be mine. But you found something here that you really like, and you're very successful at it. And, that's what I want to kind of dive into today. We were talking before we went live here, and you've built a team now, I think, of roughly 22 agents. And you guys will do, roughly 300 transactions, $100 million in volume. And, you've only been licensed since 2013. So you've come a long way pretty quickly. And, and certainly I want to dive into that, not only for people who are maybe a solo agent or just starting out that want to build a team, but also for people who are, maybe they have a 1 or 2 or 5 person team, and they want to build that out and really scale and become that team that sells $100 million a year. And there's so many different evolutionary paths along the way as you grow and scale, that there's a lot of traps to look out for. So why don't first tell me how your team is structured as it relates to admin staff, agent staff, and some of those things.
Yeah, and that's really kind of evolved over the years, but currently we've got 22 agents. Some are just regular full-time agents. Some have some other duties on the team, but I've got a full-time marketing director that's on salary. I've got a full-time listing coordinator that is on salary. I've also got my brother who is in management, but he's really kind of my right-hand man who helps with a lot of the hot leads coming in and converting them, getting them to the agents and so forth. And then I've got another agent who actually was my agent before I got into real estate. He was me and my family's agent for plus years. And once I got into the business, he saw me grow. He came on. He's been in the business for about 20 years. So he kind of acts as like an internal principal broker, managing broker, not for EXP, but for my team, so that we have someone right there and ready to help them write contracts or word things in contracts, help them through situations with their clients to kind of relieve the phone calls that come into me. And he does some training and so forth. So that's really the employee side. I am part owner in a transaction coordination company that was with my original transaction coordinator. I got to where I was paying her about $80,000 a year, and I wanted to see her make more. So we formed a company for her, and we help her grow. She does our transactions plus a lot of other EXP agents throughout our area. And so she does our TC, and we've had ISAs. Our latest ISA just converted to a full-time realtor, and we've got an outside ISA company that helps with some of our stuff too. But we've really found that the people that are an ISA for us as a paid employee and making calls and doing that kind of stuff have turned out to be excellent agents.
I always thought it was a great natural transition, man, when to start people off, especially if they weren't licensed yet, to start them off as an ISA and really build that foundation of prospecting, because it will serve you for your entire career. It's a great natural transition. So with that being said, you guys, you're staffed out with a listing manager, contract manager. You have essentially your brother as an operations person, yep. And then you're utilizing an ISA and obviously your agents. Walk me through kind of the evolution of this team, and I wonder specifically about how you started off as a single agent, and then when you knew you wanted to build a team.
Yeah, so I started off, and in the beginning, I was doing some lead generation through pay-per-click. Hung my license at a regional office, and it took a couple months. Got my first deal, and then things were kind of moving along. And I was doing marketing. I was actually handing out leads to other agents in the office because I wasn't spending the time doing what it takes to contact those leads. Mainly pay-per-click, cooler type leads. And, within a year I had done I think my first year I did 36 transactions, and I sat down with my wife and I was like, well, I'm spending 80 hours a week doing this, and it's great income, but it's not worth it. It's not worth the time. And so there had to be another way. And from the very beginning, I branded myself. I created a logo. I did some marketing to, try to make it appear that I was another top agent in our area, even though I was newer. And so that started to flow, and I brought on an assistant / buyer's agent that was just helping with some of those leads. And that slowly evolved. And then I think it would have been my brother that came along next, and he was working leads. Buyer's agent was doing more buyer agent stuff, and then added a transaction coordinator, who's the current transaction coordinator now, and to handle paperwork. I think anybody that's starting out, the very first person they need to hire is some form of assistant that can do a multiple of things, paperwork, transaction coordination, listing coordination, that can take that off your plate so that you can spend more time in front of clients, listing appointments, working with buyers. As that grew, and we were getting more leads coming in, then I just brought on more agents. And once I felt like I had a good system in place, it was easier to add agents. And through my coach, big way to growth is adding more agents, but within reason. Obviously, you can't just add 10 agents and be able to provide them the type of value that they deserve. So it was a slow process.
So a couple things there, man. Talk about, you mentioned value, right? What is the value proposition when you're adding an agent? Like when you sit down and you're interviewing an agent to come aboard on your team, what are some of the things that you talk about that would add value to an agent? In other words, why would they join your team?
Well, I think the big one that people don't realize is the chances of 87% of realtors exit the business within 5 years. And there is a 12 times more chance of success when a new agent joins a team. And so a big selling point is, hey, when you join our team, you're going to fast track your career. You're going to get to where you want to quicker. You're going to put money in your pocket quicker. And the type of values that, a lot of teams lead with leads, and we've found that to be a little bit of a struggle, because people, as you grow, people want more and more and more leads. Well, it's the wrong way to go. Leads, all the agents on our team do get leads. Some get more, some get less, and we have a mindset with, how that is formulated, but we've got to provide value in the way of support and training, and being there to help guide them. I have one-on-ones with my agents now and coach them on, hey, here's what we want to do for the next week or the next month, and get a business plan. And so, our value is we save them money. We save them time, considerable amount of time, because we have support staff that will take stuff off their plate so they can spend more time with clients. We'll teach them how to fish, not just give them the fish, but we'll teach them how to fish. And I think that's a big shift that we've made in the last year or two to really get people off of being so dependent on the lead, on the leads.
Mhm.
You know, because
Yeah.
so many agents on teams, they think that you know, they leave teams because of a lack of leads, and so we've got to find a way to show them a different form of value than just leads.
Yeah. There's so much to talk about there. Just, I mean, from my own experience, it's like, when you leads obviously is important. I think that you want to be able to provide them some leads, as well as helping them generate their own leads. And we do some different things. We buy some proprietary data, and we put it in the Mojo dialer and let them call through it, because the data that we purchase has a very high likelihood of transacting, right? So we're helping them develop the seller side of their business. We do some buyer leads also. There's sites like KV Core, Commissions Inc., where you can distribute buyer leads to a team. But I'm curious, one thing I've struggled with in my marketplace is really being able to communicate the value of being on a team. And by the way, my opinion is everyone's on a team. Unless you own your brokerage, you're on a team. Either you work for a broker or a team leader. If you work for a broker, you're on a team, right? If you work for a team leader, you're on a team. And so the next question becomes, okay, so if my commission split is 75-25, right, or 80-20, what am I getting for my 20%? Right? If I'm at a brokerage and, let's say I'm at Coldwell Banker and I'm paying them, 40% with a 6% royalty fee, what am I getting for that?
Right.
Am I getting nothing? Am I just paying that in and I'm not really getting, I get to hang out with a bunch of cool people I like? Or, am I on a team and I'm paying 60-40, but I'm getting leads, I'm getting contract management, I'm getting listing management, I'm getting coaching, I'm getting all the tools and resources that I would need in order to build and scale a business, right? That's the value principle that I think agents in a lot of cases miss. And in my opinion is, Jake, we have a very low barrier of entry here in Ohio to get into our industry. Mm-hmm. And some people will just never see it. I mean, you could bang your head against the wall and, and people, because they're not really business people, they're realtors and they're not interested in scaling a business. The market is really good right now. So business is just, it's being handed to them, and they've not grown up in a business like what we saw in 2008 and 2009, 2010. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I think that, it's a lot of agents get caught up in percentages and they forget about, being business minded and what actually ends up in their pocket. And I'm very confident that an agent that joins our team, and I don't care what level of production, I can put more money in their pocket because we can save them time to put more money in their pocket, do more transactions in the same amount of time, supply them the support, and obviously offset a lot of costs that they don't have to pay for. And it's, it's in our area, our team's number one. So there's some value there. It's like, if you're a new agent, you could even talk to your good friends about listing their home, but there's going to be a trust factor as a new agent, right? Where when you join a team, you can say, hey, it's not just me, it's Jake and the Rockwell group that are helping you. It's not just me. You get, for the same price, you're getting the whole team, and it's right. It's kind of, it's really showing that value, and we get some people, you're always going to have people that want to go about it their own way, and they want to do their own thing and they don't want to be under they want to be under their own brand, which, when we have a team, we're basically a brokerage within a brokerage. And right. There's two splits happening. EXP's taking their cut and the team takes their cut. But I just, people are like, wow, well, EXP takes 20%. I said, they don't take 20%, they take $4,000. It's $4,000 a year, for a mega team, or $8,000 a year for a regular team. And right, it's like, right. Don't think about that. It's just, you just happen to cap, or it just reset this month. And so, and I've built out a calculator that will show, what, if you do 12 transactions with EXP, you'll do, all my stats, the previous stats that we have show that you'll do double the business when you're on my team, because of leads, time saving, and showing you how to generate more business. And so, and right. When you factor that in with the caps and all that, there's a little bit more money on the team, and then people will be, well, I'm spending twice as much time doing 24 transactions versus 12. Well, it's not true, because a lot of time's being saved for them because there's staff helping them with stuff. But then you go below that and look at client gifts, photography for listing, lock boxes, signs, all the other stuff that we pay for as a team for or on behalf of our agents, that it's hard for them to put values at that. And so I kind of put that down in dollars, in conservative dollars, for them to look at and say, look, this is where it's at. And so anyway.
Yeah, no, great point. And so when I think about team, I think about one thing. I think about people, right? I mean, team is a group of people, hopefully all rowing in the same direction. And in real estate, you are only as good as the people on your team. How do you find good talent there in Oregon?
I knock on wood, I've been so fortunate. And, my wife reminds me all the time when we have, team events, because we do a lot of, culture's big for our team. And I don't know, we just been really fortunate. Yeah, I mean, we've had, a few that don't work out, but we've got some really great people. And it's, word of mouth. A lot of times people are knocking at our door, wanting to come, join our team. And we work with a lot of newer agents. We don't get a lot of any top producing agents joining our team. And that's different for some teams. I think some teams do get that draw. We haven't. I really like working with newer agents and taking them to success. But it's, we look at personality and drive, and what we've learned over the years is setting the right expectation, because sometimes it's hard to tell if you got an agent that talks a good talk and they come on, but they never show up. They never show up to the game. They're not willing to do the things that it takes to sell a lot of real estate. And a lot of agents think that it's just going to be this, I'm just going to go around, show houses and sell houses. And it's not all that, there's some work behind it. You can get to that point once you get the work in.
Yep. So you said one thing that stood out, and I want you to elaborate on this a little bit, if you don't mind. But you talked about culture, and obviously we know culture is extremely important. But what are some of the things that you do to help build culture there in your environment?
So, I mean, we have regular team meetings every week. It's now mainly on Zoom. We were doing it in person, but we actually found that Zoom, we get a lot more attendance. And so, in our team meetings are pretty basic. We go over wins and successes. Sometimes right now we're going through kind of like a book club. We're going through a book that's going to help us track our activities rather than our results, and some different things. But we do a lot of community stuff that we get our team involved in. Some of it revolves around golf, because we golf a lot, but we try to get together like once a month at least. And we will have, we had a swim party last week. We had some golf, a mini golf tournament just for our team, with half of them never swung a golf club before. Slick cart tracks or laser tag. We just do stuff like that together, so that we're all having fun together. And we've got a really good vibe of people. And I'd say 85–90% are plugged into that. There's some that are not as much, but just really pouring into them. People are working together. There's some groups of agents that work together on stuff, and some experienced agents are helping some of the new agents now. And we do, so I spend some money on the culture side in the events, and we have a big annual party at the end of the year with clients, and that incorporates the team as well. So we do a lot of that kind of stuff.
Love it, man. Love it. And so what is, when you bring a new agent in, or an agent who's been in the business for a while, and you bring them on your team, what are the expectations that you set for those agents up front?
Well, new agents are a little different. New agents, it's, we can't tell them exactly what to do. They're all independent contractors, but we let them know what what it looks like to become an agent on our team and what we have found to be successful. And it's time blocking, it's spending time prospecting and doing some form of activity that creates leads and activity, and knowing that there's going to be evenings and weekends, and when we dish them leads, we let them know that, hey, it's not a round robin. We invest in leads and we want a return on our leads. If you're great at converting leads, you'll get more leads. If you bring more business onto the table, then you're going to get more leads. We're going to stay caught up with you. And so the expectation is that, to be present, to plug in, and we want people to show up to our meetings and be involved. And if I feel like I'm giving them everything that I can, if they don't show up to the game, it's on them, and I can only do so much to get them to show up and buy into the process. But we've had too many times where we brought in agents and we didn't give the right expectation up front. We didn't say, okay, this is what it looks like on a daily, weekly basis, and so forth. And so experienced agents, it's I kind of open it up to them. What would you like to do? What kind of volume do you want to do? And then I help sit down and devise a plan, and I can create a plan for them to sell however many houses they want. It just depends on how much sacrifice they want to take to do that. And so we look at what they want, we break it down and say, this is what you'll need to do to get to there. And I can help you do this. This is the things that you got to do.
Yeah, man, that's good stuff. And I was just talking, we had a guy that just started with us in our office here. And my partner and I are actually helping him build out a team. He wants to build a team like ours. And so we're kind of mentoring him right now. And, he's got some people that are committed to the vision. And really right now, that's what he has, is the vision. And what's really cool about our industry is you can attract people with a vision. If you have a good vision and you're constantly expanding your world to fit their world inside yours, then people will stay with you. And I was telling George this the other day, is like, really good people are going to challenge you to grow. And the minute you stop growing, in other words, if their world gets the same size or bigger than yours, they're going to leave you. But as long as your world, as long as you keep pushing the envelope, either from a personal development standpoint or from scaling your business larger, you're always going to be able to fit their world inside your world, and they'll stay with you. And you've got to create that vision right now as you start to launch of where this thing is going. And he's got a couple really good commitments right now. And now it's really just about being able to add value, because now they've committed, and he has to really stand behind what he told them the vision was. And I love our industry because, not every personality is alike, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with not wanting to be a team leader. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be one of the members on the boat that's, helping row, that's helping grow it out. And in fact, in some cases, those can become, your most important contributors. And so I really love this industry because, people like you came along, you had the vision, and you got people to buy in. And now, you guys have grown out this $100 million team in Oregon. And so I'm curious, like, where are you looking to take this thing now? Because, I mean, you guys have scaled. Your volume is really large. You guys are doing a lot of units. Where are you looking to go with this whole thing, Jake?
Yeah, well, obviously, I'm a believer of always trying to grow. If you're not growing, you're failing. And so this year, I mean, we did 300 transactions the last 2 years, right around the same. We actually beat 2018 and 2019 by literally $50,000 in volume out of 100 million. And so, but this year the goal was to kind of go bigger to 135 million. COVID put a little bit of a halt in that. However, there's still plenty of time to catch up, and that's what we're working to do. But when you talk about teams, you got people that, if you don't grow to keep your organization big enough to keep others that are, from outgrowing you, one of the big things that we're looking at and I'm visualizing is teams that can build a team within a team. You have, when you look at two companies that merge, they merge and they save a lot of money in administrative staff and consolidating things. When you have a team, when you go out and build a team on your own, you bring on an administrative staff, you have to keep them busy to keep them full-time salary. You bring on a buyer's agent, you need to keep them busy. But when you do it within a team, I have a couple high producing agents that I'm like, look, you don't have to necessarily start your own team outside of Rockwell because you're just going to be underneath a brokerage anyway. But here's the benefit of having a team within a team. We have new agents joining our team all the time. They can be your buyer's agents when you need them, not 100% of the time, but they can be sometimes. Obviously, there has to be some commission adjustments for those people and make sure that they're getting a high enough commission split with their team within the team. But they don't need to hire a listing coordinator because it's already being provided to them. They don't have to hire a marketing person. It's already provided to them. They don't have to rent space or whatever. And so building a team within a team, I believe, could still potentially put more money in their pocket because they don't have to have this huge overhead and all this on their shoulders, which, you know, I love being a team leader. I love owning my own business. I've been, in business for, 20 plus years, but there's pluses and minuses. Some days I'd like to be on somebody else's team and I just like to clock in, clock out, but it's not in it's not in our blood to do that. And so there's an opportunity there, I think, to create teams within teams if it's done right. And that's kind of where we're exploring now so that we can continue growing in our area. There's no reason why we can't have 50 to 100 agents on our team. It's just a big pie, and it's just taking larger slices of the market. So we've attempted a little bit with breaking out into other markets. I've got an agent down in Arizona. It's just it's more difficult, to get started there. I think the key to that is having somebody that's established there already that wants to launch your brand and build a team at that point, but already has the basis to do it.
Yeah, it's a great point, man. And expansion's been a hot topic for a long time. And, when we were at Keller Williams, that was the big thing. And one of the reasons why we actually left Keller and came to EXP was because, we wanted to expand into Florida. And we didn't want to have territories. We didn't want to, most of the regions are already sold out with Keller Williams. And so you can incubate in another office, but there are some expenses associated with that. And to your point, it is much more challenging because, if we rewind the tape here, we talked about culture, right? People want to be a part of a culture. And so you definitely have to find the right talent. Especially if they're not going to be a part of your culture, because they're not going to be a part of your immediate culture if they're 800 miles away, right? And so you have to be able to find a way to communicate that to the right person and be able to add value. And it's becoming easier now with technology like what EXP has put out with the world and some of this transaction management software that we can use now. But it's still really challenging to have people, 800 miles away and to be able to scale a team the size of the one that you've already built. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that there's, now that we're with EXP, obviously they provide that opportunity with revenue share and all that. And that's a focus that I've got as well. But that I treat that as a separate team. I've got my real estate team locally that, in 4.5 years, ideally, it's a passive team for me. And my brothers are running it. And we create a way that allows me to step out and be more passive on that. And once we have that blueprint, it'll allow them an opportunity to step out at some point. And I want to create a business that is like any other business down the street that operates without the owners all the time. And it is a recognized brand in our area. It's up in the air on how much I'll do that same brand in other areas, but the revenue share side and building up an EXP team throughout the country and so forth is another big portion, a portion of my time now. And we've got a group here locally that we're really trying to put together some more value to the agents that come in another area of the state or another state all the general, to keep us together and provide them support and value and possibly coaching and stuff like that. So, they're two different things in my opinion. Again, the expansion teams, full-blown expansion teams are difficult, and I don't know how much more we'll pursue that. I think we have a lot of room to grow locally, and I think if I'm going to put any effort into expansion, it's going to be into the EXP agent attraction expansion side of things.
You bring up a great point, because it's so crazy right now. I mean, you see people, maybe they sell $6 million a year. They want to expand into a different market. You know what I mean? It's crazy to me, because it's like there's so much more market share that you could take here locally. You would never want to expand or cast aside resources that you would need here to acquire more business and send them 800 miles away when you're not really doing the business here that you should be in order to do that. And so it's crazy, because I'll sit down with people and they'll be like, yeah, we're 6 million, and we're looking at an agent, down in Texas right now to partner with. And I'm like, what? No, don't do that. It's like you need to be able to focus. What you focus on expands, right? And what you can focus on in what's in front of you can expand much more quickly. And so, I think if I'm going to put, a bow on the conversation about expansion, is that, make sure you've taken market share where you're at. Make sure you're doing as much, you've gotten as much out of what you have locally as you can get before you go somewhere else. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and I don't think that there's any limit to that, because I mean, until you're, you got 20% of the market share, I mean, there's always room to grow. And if you're expanding in another area, I think the biggest thing is it's all in that first hire, that first person that you're partnering with, someone that really knows that it's going to be a lot on them to really build what duplicate what you've created in one area and put it in that area. But when you're expanding, there's we have other towns close to us that why not expand into those areas more? I've had agents that were in 500 miles away that they're like, well, I really want to be a part of the Rockwell team, and I had a hard time saying no, and I didn't, and it turned out to not work out. And so moving forward, I'm not going to do that unless it's the perfect type of situation that I may. But yeah, I mean, we want to grow. We want to dominate where we're at, and continue to. The quickest way to grow is through bringing more agents on your team. And as long as, it's not too hard to add people to your team, in my opinion. It's retaining them and providing them value. As you get 30, 40, 50 agents, you got to, provide a lot of value. You have to have some infrastructure there to be able to support them and so forth. And, again, it's just a brokerage, at that point.
So I'm doing a quick recap. And so your first hire, you said, was an admin, and so was mine, by the way. When do you know it's time to hire the first admin?
I think that you could do it fairly quick. I mean, because really, if you wait till you need it, then the moment you do it, you open up time to just grow. And so I think that when someone's doing, you can hire admin at 15, 20 transactions, and even if it's part-time, $15 an hour or whatever's, normal in your area, there's always going to be stuff, and it'll allow you to grow quicker. If you wait to do that, you're just delaying your growth. Right. And and there's a there's a balance of work-life balance that is important. It's easy to get burnt out in this business if you go hard 60, 78 hours a week and give up time with the family, and that's all lost time. And so I think you can get started fairly quick, as long as you're in a position to be able to. But yeah.
And so you bring on an admin, and then and then it's safe to start adding agents once the business is there, correct?
Yeah, when you have enough business for yourself, plus some that you can start handing off. But again, it's like, some people are, well, I don't have enough business yet to hand off to a buyer's agent. Well, the other way to think is, well, if I get a buyer's agent, I can go get more business for us both, because that buyer's agent or an agent will work some of the leads that you have coming in, depending on what kind of lead generation. But yeah, I think that, in the first year, so I went about a full year with an assistant hired towards the end of the year, but it was an assistant / buyer's agent. They would help show houses. They were licensed, and then they were starting to bring in a little business, and they wanted to do more of that. So I hired a different administrative person, and that wasn't licensed for, transaction coordination. And then, it just kind of grew from there, just naturally. And as it grew, I increased spend on marketing and leads, and to help provide them. At that point, it was more about supplying leads and business to the team members to get them going. Now it's, we still do a lot of that, but it's more, other types of value, teaching them how to get their own leads, and providing them more support and save them more time and so forth.
Yep. Love it, man. It's interesting because, you mentioned, with every hire, really what you're getting back is time, right? You hire an admin, you're buying back time essentially, because you're handing off the non-dollar productive activities that will free you up to generate more business. And when you hire a buyer's agent, right, you're freeing up time, because we know it's very hard to scale a buyer business because buyers demand the most time. And so if you hand that buyer business off, if you hand those administrative duties off, it frees you up to go work more on the listing side of the business, which is what drives everything else.
Yeah, that listings is the big thing, and when I got in, that's what I went after, and that's kind of how we started. Is when I brought in an agent, I was taking all the listing business. However, I allowed the agents that, if they brought in a listing, they could have the listing. I mean, I wasn't the type of team where all listings had to go through me or a certain listing person. Agents on our team can take listings and work with buyers. Even now, I mean, I even give out listing leads to other agents at this point, because I don't want to go on all the listing appointments. I've got, not enough time to do all that. And so, but in the beginning, the agent should be, the main team leader should be controlling the listings that come into the team, and handing off, some of the other leads to the buyer's agent or other agents. I don't really call them buyer's agents anymore. They're just, they're other agent on the team that can do both business. They just may not get the listing leads in the beginning.
Yep. I love it. I love it. Well, Mr. Jake, we are coming up against the clock, my friend. But before we end this, how can people get in touch with you? If they want to find out more about how you built your business, or just have general questions about real estate.
They can give me a call, shoot me an email, text, reach out anytime. They can find me at rockwellrealestate.com. That's our website. I'm on Facebook, and they can call our main number, 541-292-4444, and get a hold of me there, and be happy. I sit down and talk. More than happy to help anybody that reaches out anytime.
Well, as usual, I love sharing these stories week after week, because I know this show is literally changing agents' financial lives, my own included. Do me a big favor. If you know someone that might enjoy the podcast, please share it with them. And if you like the podcast, please go to wherever you listen to podcasts and smash that subscribe button. If you want to jump on a 30-minute call with me for a free business strategy session, go to mikewalllive.com. And for Mr. Jake Rockwell and myself, that is it for this one. Jake, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Mike. Really enjoyed it.
Talk soon.
Take care. See ya.